We have a very brief announcement, and one we're not very happy about. Our executive board found management's offer totally inadequate, and we are now on strike.
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved. We will stand and fight together. We shall not be moved. We will stand and fight together. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved. We are black and white together. We shall not be moved. We are black and white together. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved.
I'm Bill Linder, International President of the Transport Workers Union of America, AFL-CIO. I'm seated here with International Secretary-Treasurer Roosevelt Watts and International Executive Vice President John Law, reviewing the incidents and events that led up to the strike in April 1980. Our union represents workers in transit, airlines, railroads, aerospace, utilities, and other related industries across the country. We make this film because we believe our members and the general public are entitled to know the reasons why 35,000 New York City transit workers engaged in a desperate and costly strike in April of 1980. And of course, stopping all subway, bus, and other transport in the nation's largest city. TWU members are responsible citizens like most New Yorkers, but they were forced by the interplay of irresponsible politicians and a treacherous Taylor law into exercising their only option to strike for a moderate improvement in wages, hours, and working conditions, especially in the face of soaring inflation. Management stonewalled it right up to the end and to the deadline, refusing to make any respectable offer and to permit our committee to negotiate. Our members had no recourse but to strike. The establishment in New York City was intent on further diminishing the wages, hours, and working conditions of not only the transit workers, but of all public workers, to even lower levels than they had sunk after 5 years of sub-average improvements. When the transit workers were forced to strike, after rejecting a humiliating 11th hour first and final offer, the mayor of New York, who had largely caused the strike by his insistence on a settlement of 4% per year plus impossible givebacks, then led the big business cheering sections in urging the public to hold out for abject surrender of the transit workers. Our members did not take the strike decision lightly. They knew of the unfair penalties mandated by the boss-oriented Taylor Act, but they also knew they could not live as respectable citizens on the wages, benefits, and working conditions offered by the transit managements, especially when they were accompanied by demands for wholesale givebacks of conditions long enjoyed by transit workers, which were won by arduous struggle over many years.
My name is Wayman Carey. I'm a motorman with the New York City Transit Authority. The hazards of the job are steel dust, bad rail, working in the yard under adverse conditions, the maintenance of the equipment. They cut back so drastically now until if you take a train out of service and send it into the barn, 9 times out of 10, that same train will come back, right back out, and the same condition will exist. If you're dealing with bad equipment, cracked wheels, stuck brakes, flat wheels, You can't be effective. It's impossible for you to be effective. I do give full productivity. The average man on the job gives full productivity. The hazards that are down there, the problems that are down there, it has a tendency to really turn you off. You're under a tremendous amount of pressure.
My name is Rocco Ladarocca. Oh, my title is Structure Maintainer Group B. That's Mason. There's a lot of work in the Transit Authority. If they would give us the time and the proper equipment. Management is very cold and irresponsible. We're not no low-life people. We are people who want to work. I think the public condemns us for everything that goes on in the subway. The city bosses complain about productivity. They want more for less. Where's all this money going to? Where's all the federal grants they're getting? What are they doing with it? I mean, can we really be that much in the red? We're not really making a lot of money like the public thinks. I'm just making ends meet, as of right now.
My name is Therese Dowdell. My responsibility is to make sure the parts for the buses get from the main storeroom to the garages. I was going into maintenance as the first and the only woman, and that was a lot to handle in itself. But in the back of my head, I knew I needed the job, I knew I needed the salary, and I decided, well, I'm going to take it, and I took the job. I want to learn more, and I'd like a few promotions. I want to grow in the company, and I hope that the company has me.
My name is John Marioni. I've been a track worker now 5 years. They'll sign a section to you. They expect you to pick up all the defects as you walk along. The first worst enemy is the trains. The trains will get you. If they don't get you, the public is going to get you. The public is probably second worst enemy on the track. They play games, threw the bulbs out of the train and try to throw them at you, hit you with them. Or maybe they'll stick an umbrella between the doors. There's a scarcity of material, scarcity of tools, scarcity of safety equipment. The problem is money. They claim there's no money for these things.
My name is Patrick Murphy. I am a car inspector with the Transit Authority for the last 10 years. When I inspect those cars and I turn in work to be done, I record it on a pink tag. There's a pink card goes with every inspection car, and I make sure I write it on ink. Sometimes I wonder why they bring in the cars at all to be inspected when they don't do all the work that should be done. You cannot fix the cars without having the material. The conditions where I work are appalling. You'd have to see it to believe it. We cannot get any material. We're working in conditions that we have no lights in the pit. We cannot even get flashlight batteries or gloves to work with. The conditions we have in the Transit Authority, in the inspection band I work, they wouldn't be allowed by any private outfit that I know of.
My name is Wilbert Long. I've been a bus operator for 11 years. Many days I go to work and stand around an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours before I can get a bus to go to work. The equipment is in such bad shape, and management claim they can't get the parts to fix them with. You can't drive a bus unless you have a bus to drive. You know, they give you a bus and send you out on the road that another fella just brought in off the road out of service. They bring it right around and give it to another driver. You can't operate a bus like that. The buses are falling apart. I'm a proud man. I got 7 healthy children. I got a lovely wife, and I got a fairly good job. Got to be proud of that. That's a lot of accomplishment, I think.
I'm working with Transit Authority 12 years. My name is William Keaton. I'm the townman from New York City Transit Authority. Tower person controls the signals and switches for different routes where the trains have to go. I like my job very much as a towerman. The conditions, no water coolers, no bathrooms, no air conditioning, nothing. And in the summertime it gets mighty hot down there.
My name is Kedra Andrews. When I started working for the Transit Authority, I knew that it was a hazardous job. The Transit Authority, they tell you, yes, you'll have a minimum amount of trouble. You read the rule book and they give you like a guideline book, and they teach you what you must know when you get out there on your own. Basically, you get a crash course in 8 days. It was it's about time for me to get off, and I was waiting for my relief, and two fellas came in, and I thought that they were going to just go through. Then one stayed at the turnstile, and the other one came to the booth, and he just shot me. When I got to the hospital, I really don't remember until I think it was the next day, and then I couldn't see. I never expected to get shot. Like I said, I always felt that those were things that happened, and you knew they happened. You just didn't expect that they were going to happen to you. I don't want anyone to feel sorry for what happened to me, to pity me. I want you, everyone that knows me, I want you to treat me like you've been treating me. And that helps me deal with everything a lot better. So I like to go. And now I can't go like I want to. I cook. I take care of my young'un, myself. And I prefer to do it that way. But, when I go in the street, I don't go alone. I manage to do my shopping if I get somebody to go with me to the store. And if I have to go to the doctor or something like that, someone goes with me.
You've heard why our members chose the hard and dangerous decision to strike. Now listen as International Secretary-Treasurer Roosevelt Watts tells you how they paid for exercising their democratic right to withhold their labor when their living and working conditions became unbearable.
Because the members of the Transport Workers Union refused to accept a substandard settlement, they were subject to the most vicious penalties assessed working men and women in America since before the New Deal and the progressive labor laws it encouraged. First, the union was fined $1,250,000. That, of course, came out of the workers' dues. Top officers each were fined $250 individually. Workers were penalized 2 days' pay for every day out on strike. That meant the wages of losses up to $1,200, or approximately $18 million. In addition, the New York State Public Employment Relations Board is mandated by the Taylor Law and is now in the process of taking away the union dues and checkoff for an undetermined length of time. That too could cost the workers millions of dollars. All of these penalties were assessed against honest, hard-working Americans expressing their rights as citizens of a free nation. We claim this is not right, it's not just, it's a vicious, punitive political punishment which should not be accepted in America.
The president of Local 100, the TWU Local, which represents the striking New York City transit workers, is John E. Law, who also represents the International Union as the executive vice president. He is now busy picking up the pieces after the vicious media attacks and court actions. He'll tell you how we are coping with the penalties and other problems following the strike.
First, I want to remind you that I took a calculated risk when I ordered our men and women back to work, when the executive board deadlocked 22-22 on the fact finder's decision to win the strike. But I felt then I was right, and the overwhelming majority of the members later strongly justified my decision.
As far as the strike was concerned, I was in favor of the strike because as I saw it and as I felt, the union was pushed to the wall for a strike. I don't think anyone was really anticipating a strike, so no one really prepared for a strike. So therefore, when a strike hit, everyone suffered. As a union man, and I'm a union man from my heart and soul, the only weapon that the union has in their arsenal, the only weapon, is the strike. So now if you take the strike away from them, what do they have? Then you're at the mercy of management. Because they can tell you, this is what we're going to give you, and you have to accept it. Now, if you don't accept it, then you're not bargaining in good faith. To me, the union is a liaison between the hourly paid employee and management. They're there to see that your rights are not violated. If it wasn't for the union, a lot of guys don't realize it. They wouldn't even have a job.
When the strike was on, I was hurting because there was no money coming in. I'm married and have 2 kids. If we didn't have the ability to strike, let's say this Taylor law is where it is as of right now, I personally think it's unconstitutional. It's taking my rights away as a United States citizen of this country to give my point across, and the only way I can is by striking to negotiate a decent settlement. You'll have somebody to fight for you. And that's one reason I love the union. I think everybody should have a union. You need somebody to represent the workers, because without it, you're dead. The union means to me job security.
The panel is going to schedule joint meetings in the very near future, possibly sometime tomorrow. We don't know exactly when. Mr. Gellhorn is going to notify us. So we are anxious to proceed and resume the negotiations and get this thing ended as soon as we can.
I picketed a lot because I was very angry because I had no work, I had no money, so I went very far into debt. I'm in favor of what the union was trying to accomplish, and I think the stand they took was the only stand to take. Well, after being fined for the Taylor law, I was taking home $100 a week. $100 a week for 4 weeks is $400 a month. And when your bills are $520 a month, it's hard to get the $400 to stretch that far. Paying dues and belonging to a union is a kind of satisfaction to know that I belong. The unity of it intrigues me. You know, like you hear there's strength in numbers. I'm one of the numbers in that force, the TWU. I'm a number, and that counts.
I'm against the Taylor law, of course, and unconstitutional. It's a one-sided law where management can offer you anything, and they say you cannot go on strike. If you go on strike, then you'll be penalized. I believe the public employees should have the right to strike. The management can offer you anything, and if you don't like it, that's it. They say you cannot strike. You could be going 2 years without a contract. That's unfair, too. I was always a union member. I think every worker in America should have a union. Of course, management would just walk over them if they didn't belong to any union. For better working conditions, vacation, everything. We need union. I wasn't opposed to going on strike because the TA only offers about 3% the day before the contract ended, and we could not accept that. Plus, they wanted to take away our night differentials and a lot of other working conditions we had over the years, and it was, instead of going forward, we were going backwards if we had settled at that time. So we had no choice but to go on strike. We were forced into the strike.
Midnight was after the strike, and we don't think that was a genuine offer.
John, where are you going to be? Would you have settled for 8 and 8?
I don't know.
Would you have settled for 8 and 8?
On the road.
Law, would you have settled for 8 and 8?
No, I wouldn't have settled for 8 and 8.
And I think our union does a good job protecting our job. I would have to blame management solely for the strike. They negotiated in bad faith with the union. Everybody else can strike, but we can't. It takes away our bargaining power. I wonder what's going to happen the next time. The increase in salary is not keeping up with the increase in inflation. With the cost of everything, it's just impossible to live today. Tuitions for school, clothing for children, and feeding 5 children. It's just, you just can't make it. It's just a struggle.
The union has helped me greatly. They're there when I need them. You know, for me not being on a job for a long time and not knowing me, they really rallied together and act like knew me, and they really cared what happened. They stood behind me. When everyone was striking, I didn't go out there, but my heart was. The job is dangerous, and the work that you do, people come by tokens, and they tell you, you don't do nothing but sit on your rump, for want of a better word. But they don't know. You work 8 hours, and it appears that you're sitting there doing nothing, but you do a lot.
Yes, I was in favor of what the union was trying to receive by going on strike. Naturally, they was trying to get more money, better working conditions, you know, and things like that, things that you really need on a job like this. You know, they were trying to more sick days and stuff like that. So you naturally you have to go along, working man with a family man, you have to go along with what the union is doing. Yeah, I picketed for 11 days. When the union was on strike, you know, I nearly starved. I even applied for food stamps and was denied. I borrowed money from who I could. And it'll take me another year to get back where I was before the strike and the Taylor law. I think the union got about as much as anybody really expected them to get on this contract.
There were real compromises on everyone's part. Without that, we would have had a long, long strike. The settlement was not everything that we wanted either. There are no winners, there are no losers.
Sold out his membership.
Well, sold out!
That's what. Why sold out?
It's a tie vote.
And this will be the last contract he ever negotiated.
Why do you say that?
Hi.
The government is saying a sellout. You believe that?
Hell no. The membership will decide. No group of individuals is going to make sure that they're going to dictate to nobody. The whole membership will make up their mind where we go from here.
What do you feel about the package personally? I believe it was the best we could get under the circumstances. I'm not totally happy with it. But we've been out on strike for 10 days and we tried our best. So we think we're doing the right thing to let the membership make the decision here. This is what has happened here today. How long will it take to get the mail back?
During the transit strike, I was hurt. There was no income. And then we got hit with the Taylor law. The union has fought for a long time for worker safety. The union has fought for higher wages for the transit worker. The union has always been for the workers. I hope that they continue to do the good job that they've done. I feel that the Transport Workers Union has always given the workers a fair shake. I feel that I agree with them. It's hard times. There isn't as much money as there should be around. I feel that they've gotten as much money for us as they possibly could. I would be a fool if I said I'm satisfied. I'm not satisfied. That's what unions were all about. The dissident groups, see, what they have to realize, it's very easy to criticize a group that has been in business for 30 to 40 to 50 years because they didn't have to start way back then and start the union out, where there were people being killed to start the union. You don't make the union better by fighting with it, by knocking its brains out. You only divide it. You only make it weaker. But by joining with the union and internally trying to make it better, trying to exchange ideas, new ideas with old ideas, then maybe this union will be even better. It'll be even greater.
TWU says the Taylor law is unconstitutional. It encourages discrimination in the imposition of law. Other transit workers not employed by governmental or quasi-governmental units have struck in recent years and were not penalized even 1 penny. Where is the justice in selecting only one segment of the working force for such unfair punishment? It can be only construed as an attempt to bulldoze government workers into a new type of slavery. We in the Transport Workers Union will fight this unfair law in the courts, in the legislature, and in the public forum. We call on all fair-minded citizens to join us in this crusade for justice.
You have heard from good, hard-working American workers why they were forced to brave harsh penalties in order to secure some measure of economic justice. They did not make their decision lightly, and the unfair penalties that were piled on them were the heaviest in history. We urge all Americans to join with the Transport Workers Union in seeking to change the laws of New York State, which make the transit workers second-class citizens, close to a state of slavery usually seen in backward nations and communist satellites. What is right for workers in American industry must also be made right for public transport. Transit workers in New York City deserve the same pay that transit workers in other major cities receive. And there should be no games played with the pensions and other benefits of these workers. New York City transit workers struck to survive in the most costly community in the nation. They cannot survive if they are unfairly paid or are given unequal fringe benefits. We in the Transport Workers Union will fight until justice for them is achieved.
We shall not be moved. We will stand and fight together. We shall not be moved. We will stand and fight together. We shall not